Hello everyone, welcome back to Ukrainian.Media podcast. I'm Olena Solodovnikova and today I'm excited to be joined by Yuriy Oliynyk, expert at the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Studies. Yuriy, as an analyst, you push idea of potential fragmentation of Russia, and also head of the office of President Kirill Budanov stated a couple of days ago that we have to create conditions under which Russia will disappear as empire. So, my question is, how should we boost this concept to international society?
This is very big and work and fundamental work because a lot of people, not only common population, but also experts, politicians in Europe, in other countries, in Africa or Asia, especially more in America, don't see possibility that to Russia crash because they are live in point of view when Russia is a stable country, old country with old history, because Russian propaganda, Russian historians, cultural impact. They worked a lot about at creation this position that every time Russia was very stable society with common language, common tradition. So this great so-called Dostoevsky and Tolstoy culture with such not Western but other Christian nation. And some minorities could be on Caucasus, on some other land, but only minorities, because the main part of population are the same in Moscow, in Vladivostok, in Siberia, but it's myth. And Russian population has great diversion, great difficult tradition, difficult history, and old history of fighting against empire. A lot of rebellions, a lot of, especially in times of revolution, and also Russia had two in previous century had two period of crash, because first of all in time after First World War, and after then Bolsheviks rebuilt this empire, but gave a lot of autonomous rights, cultural autonomous for different nations that fight it against Moscow Center, and then in 1990s, after the crash of Soviet Union, a lot of republics in especially Tatarstan, Chechnya, Ichkeria, but else other republics, other autonomous regions, they presented they want to have sovereignty, to have more autonomy, and they want to be the political actors of in the Russia, not provinces. And but Russian propaganda pictures this period as first of all as fightings in Moscow between some different ideologies. In first phase between red Bolsheviks and white imperialists, and then in 30 years ago between liberals and communists. But this not is only the part of truth, but not all the picture, because the main reason that caused the decline of Russian Empire and the Soviet Union is national problems, because a great portion of colonized nations were in captive, and they wanted. This was a fundamental part of revolutions, but also in so-called Russians. There were a lot of problems and social problems, economical problems, religious problems, because the main part of Russians were so-called Starovers, or old Orthodox Church, which was not approved by government, and especially in some regions, Arkhangelsk Oblast region, Arkhangelsk regions, Siberia, Urals, and these native movements are still they're frozen, but they are activity where they could have repairs and.
Sorry, could I interrupt you and clarify that, as for me, the main threat of European Parliament, European governments that are losing control over the large part of territory, and also losing control of the nuclear weapon. What we should do with that, with nuclear weapon in many hands and so on? What is your argument?
Yes, this is the bad dream of American politicians that believe that Russia could be instrument in war against China, but in fact, environment of decline of Russia, a lot of terrorist groups, a lot of nation movements could have control of nuclear bombs. But so Russia used this for phobias, and we know that, for example, in the 2022, it was the most reason to stop and to frozen the help to Ukraine after the and we know this truth because there are some memories of American politicians and workers of White House, because the nuclear terrorism was an instrument, and Russia use this instrument in critical points. So,
Yes.
but so we could give our partners the good perspective that, first of all, is not the variant will Russia crash or not. This empire couldn't be stable. But after, if this decline will be controlled or uncontrolled, because after times, if it will be after years, after decades, this will be cause more problems and more refugees, more economical catastrophe, ecological catastrophes. But so we could, first of all, try to plan what to do in these conditions, and secondly, to have instruments, to have knowledge about different republics, different regions, to have contacts with allies, with possible opposition allies, with nowadays abroad some things about possible position of regional allies, which are now in the controlled by Putin's regime, but they are not very well because in the previous years, 2 years ago, started a lot of repressions, wave of repressions against regional allies. The business are taken by government, by central Moscow companies. They are imprisoned by some by corruption, by other reasons, but this wave has started because lack of resources caused this wave of repression.
Yes, and also, how do you feel this in parliaments in exile? Are they ready in the case of miracle that Russia will collapse and they need to take power in their hands? They are ready to do that and provide elections, or is it like an unstable situation with that?
You speak about this parliament, these groups that are abroad, yes?
Yes, yes. How are they power now, and how are they?
They don't have enough power, but some parts of them have some soldiers, have some people that have military equipment, military experience in Ukraine, because they're fighting in a Ukrainian army, especially some Dagestans, some Chechens, some other different nations, groups from Siberia. Bashkors are ready to do it, but also this, they could not give power to take power because they are abroad. You know that firstly the war started in the regions. The first actors who have could aim the power after crash of Moscow will be regional allies, but this allies will need some ideological picture, some ground why these territories could have their own way. And these politicians abroad could give this experience, could give contacts with Western countries and other possible partners, and they could work and together to aim some more stable, more independent politics. For example, it was a picture of a clash of Soviet Union, because mainly part of republics was a compromise between regional communistic alliance that want independence and some dissidents, some foreigners that give the ideological ground and some possible pictures. It also the pictures of post-Warsaw blocks experience, especially in Czechoslovakia and Poland.
Yeah. My next question is a little bit tricky. Do you think that West now sees Ukraine as a partner, as a security buffer, or a future member of Western institutions such as NATO or EU? And also, I just wanted to ask you, what benefits will Ukraine have in case of joining NATO or EU? Because our partners now are prompting us to implement all EU regulations, including the tax and system and so, and even before membership. And is it reasonable?
This talking about a lot of procedures, ecological procedures, fighting against corruption. It's also the rhetorics which could postpone the integration, because the main problems is that the European partners also are afraid, and they don't want to fight with rightly with Russia, because to have these soldiers here and so on. For now, for Ukrainians, you need more help, and Ukraine could more military help. First of all, it's a problem of security, and Ukraine could give a lot of experience, could give be a military base and military center of military core of independent European space, because we could see also that the experience of Ukrainians are more better, that especially of USA army, We could see this in partly in situation in Near East when they were rich and very improvement to the anti-airstrike systems could not work with the cheap Shaheds, cheap drones which use Iran. But Ukraine has this experience, and it's only one possible way. But the main problem that integration Ukraine to European Union or NATO, it's not the economical and some taxes situation. Yes, there are some problems. Ukrainian agriculture could compare with Poland, with with Netherlands, with some others fabrics. But it's these problems could be solved. The main problems will be European Union and the real actor in the global game. Now in the league with China, with USA, but because nowadays it's problems because different countries have different views. The politicians realize to street the new streets. Because the situation in Greenland, in Ukraine, and Near East are useful to think more quickly, but the population maybe are not ready to great changes, and great it's not only changes, it is great risks. But without these risks, the future of European stability is incorrect.
I wanted to share you that couple days ago I watched interview of dissident Vladimir Bukovsky. He is died, but in this interview he told about the realistic situation that before the Soviet Union collapsed during the Gorbachev era, some people from the left wing, from the European countries, came to Gorbachev with idea to make some kind of another USSR project in Europe, and as a result, it be transformed in the European in the EU. So do you believe in this version? And probably that is the most big problem of European Union, to be on the left positions. What I mean, for example, that is that economic problem with supporting society with a lot of benefits and nobody works and so on. What do you think about that conspiracy theory?
The great influence of very leftish and radical leftish movements in Europe in this, but also European is not mostly leftish project, because these roots of European integration lie in thinkings of conservatives, for example, Schumann in Germany, some projects of thinking about the post-World War that were produced by members of European aristocracy, and how to avoid the war in Europe, how to make Europe more stable, more powerful. So the idea of European integration and came from Roman Empire and medieval Roman Empire experiments to establish this space. So this is very old and more powerful ideological project, but also the leftish could be less powerful if European countries want to achieve some aims and to and to live after times, because this populistic leftish experiments previous give money to some social problems without security. It's the way to avoid sovereignty, because many years Europeans believe that USA every time will give some help. USA army will also be in defend NATO, but nowadays is a question, because USA don't want to defend the allies without real help, real usage of resources, of military resources of these allies. And after all, the European nations are nowadays on the crossroads. They go to more powerful, more countries with more power, strengthen the armies, to give military fabrics, or will win the populism. And after all, the European space will divide it between USA mainly, and Russian or China, if it was in previous after Second World War II.
And what is your prediction about when the EU can collapse in 5 years or even earlier?
That experience, I hope that it will be not true, that will be more neutral, more positive scenario. But it depends of results of different elections, of behavior, how your friends in Germany, first of all, Italy, will work with pro-Russian agents, which are have that are Russian agents in the European Union, NATO. No, I am personally the Orban and but different other sides. How will they think about independence of work better for independence in an energetical source? Because you know that German economical miracle. It's produced by cheap Russian gas and oil. And
Yes, and
nowadays,
also they have that now they said it was mistake to reshifted their power grids to green power, only green, eco, and now, oh, no, we need coal. Yeah.
yes,
This is funny.
also the main documents of European Commission and all else today are not they are not still written, because they say about this green myth of green ecological energy, but it's nowadays it's very far to go to it, because it's now in these conditions it's not a way to prosperity, it's a way to decline.
Yes, I completely agree. And also, I just wanted to jump to the topic of Iran and the Middle East. We see that the rhetoric against Iran is the same as they used against Ukraine and Russia. The attacks were ordered by Trump, not the USA, but person. Could you not have made the decision on that own? This is not a war, but special operation. And I just wanted to ask you, why are all wars exist now in host mode, or they didn't exist? It's most of the big powers are fighting, but fighting by proxies and nobody here. Why does the global community not dare to call war? Why it was so?
First of all, it's a result of decades of after Second World War, because the war, the winners of this war said that the war is bad and we want to live in peace. So after time, they different conflicts, different wars, a lot of wars in Cold War, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan. They don't call this
Also, yeah.
to avoid some sanctions, to avoid some problems, because United Nations have principles as countries in war, they couldn't have some other countries who couldn't sell them weapon, give other help, and to do everything to stop the war. But it's so they don't call this as a war, and this nowadays only rhetorics. But the war are real, and the many wars, they real spread and over the continents, and the situation in last decade presented that the level of conflicts is rising, and third World War, World War III is already here. But they are very not quickly, but spread the wave, the territory of conflicts without peace.
Yes. What do you think? Will Israel and America be able to cope with the redistribution of power in Iran? Will the new person from exile, who will appointed to rule the country, be effective? Because you know that Iran is divided from inside, and there are many reasons here. Especially religion really play a major role in political processes here.
Nowadays, in this situation, when a lot of civilians in Iran are victims of these bombings, great influence of Israeli USA, and USA, I think, will not have enough effort to change the regime, because Iranian regime is divided. There is not only from one personalized regime. He has a lot of structures. First of all, the corps of Islamic revolutions, but also army, and also a lot of civilians will not fight against government in time of external war, because yes, there were a lot of protests, a lot of dividing inside society, but you couldn't change regime without operation on the land force, with the land forces. Israel and USA will not do their armies go to fighting these lands, because they have they want to use some Kurds oppositions on the west countries, some rebellions of Belugis on the eastern part of Iran, but this possibility is, I think it will not so effective that they want, because not enough power, not enough alliance in previous months created, because maybe Trump and just think that some few bombings against leaders will try to influence to regime to capitulation, but this is not true. So the war will go for weeks and mainly for months, but also there is a possibility that after weeks Trump will be said, hey, we will have not efforts, have not possibilities to fight more, and will be stop this war, and after time the Iranian will be have more less powerful, less effective, but will be have time to reverse.
But why did Trump launch airstrikes? Does this have a profound economic impact, or is it was his attempt to prove the voters that America really will be great again?
Yes, if we must, this was firstly the reason, for my opinion, that Israel politicians lobbies in for Trump, but also because it's first of all Israel in interest to crash Iran, but also nowadays USA have more problems. Yes, for Ukrainians, good to crash the allies of Russia, Iran, and to crash their industrial possibilities, the possibilities to make drones, but for American interest is a problem because the allies in Arabian countries see that USA couldn't give enough help in anti-air strike help, so it's will have bad conditions for opinion of USA in this region.
But do you really think that escalation of conflict in the Middle East is it more proofs for Ukraine, because now all governments shifting resources to prepare for the possible invasion, and they try to take more protection system and to their countries.
A lot of worlds is not sleep. We can see that only Ukraine could have most experience, most efficient specialists for chip systems to stop drones to fight in modern war. Yes, it's good for Ukraine. After all, some problems for rising of oil and gas price. It's good for Russia, but I think it's only some way for a few weeks. But also the more and more longer war for months is will be not good for Ukraine after the rising of oil prices.